Moncalvo, you can start.
Okay. So, good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to this web conference, Bioeconomy for Soil Regeneration. It's a key tool to make more with less. This is a partner event of the European Green Week 2021, and it is organized by Resoil Foundation, European Circular Bioeconomy Policy Initiative, Chimica Verde Bionet, and Kyoto Club. I'm Roberto Moncalvo. I'm an organic farmer. I'm a board member of Resoil Foundation, and I am the past president of Coldiretti, the biggest farmers association in Italy and Europe, with 1.5 million members. I'll give you a short description of Resoil Foundation. It's promoted by Novamont, Coldiretti, University of Bologna, and Torino Polytechnic. For us of Resoil Foundation, soil is a crucial element of bioeconomy, and it's also one of our planet's most important natural resources, as water or air. Our main goal is to foster soil protection and regeneration in Italy and Europe, because caring for soil is caring for life. We spread at national and local level activities and objectives promoted by the Mission Board for Soil, Earth and Food. And we are moving also on knowledge and education about soil, because soil is a vital resource largely unknown by common people. Resoil Foundation is also mapping lighthouses and living labs using our daily link with Italian farmers. And finally, we are also working in two directions. The first one is to promote a cross-sectorial policy shaping process at national and European level. And the second direction is to trigger impact innovation processes on soil regeneration. So it's time to close my short speech and to start this web conference. I want to say thanks a lot to all the important panelists that are here today with us. And so I ask to Sofia Mannelli of Chimica Verde Bionet, please take the floor and continue this web conference.
Thank you, Roberto Moncalvo. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, everyone. I am Sofia Mannelli, president of Chimica Verde Bionet. There are many prestigious speakers and panelists this afternoon. I only take 2 minutes to thank who with us organized the event and for explain the mission of our association. We are a no-profit organization founded 15 years ago by a group of public researchers and Legambiente, the most important Italian environmental association. Our mission is to promote the development according to ecological and sustainable criteria, the research, application and dissemination of industrial products based on plant or animal byproducts, taking into account the entire production process and environmental fate at the end of their life cycle. Our field application concern various fields of green chemistry, energy from biomass, natural dyes, natural fibers, biofuels, biolubricants, technical oil, bioplastic and biopolymers, renewable raw materials for fine chemicals and other use, respective supply chains following a bioraffinery approach. Chimica Verde Bionet was among the first in Italy to talk about the role and importance of respecting the soil in agriculture practice. So I am very proud that our association has promoted, in collaboration with others, this working day especially in collaboration with the Regeneration Foundation, who I thank for the honor, and I quickly leave the floor to Beppe Croce for the start of the works. Are many panelists that I thank a lot, and I say good listening to everyone. Thank you, Beppe. It's your turn.
Thank you, Sofia. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am the director of Chimica Verde Bionet. Today there are many speakers, so I pray you to respect the times. The first speaker is Mrs. Kerstin Rosnau, Head of Unit Research and Innovation of DG Agri. And she will talk about the EU mission, soil, health and food. Please, Mr. Rosnau, you have 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks a lot for this very kind introduction, and I'm especially pleased to have heard by you the title of our mission already pronounced. Caring for soil is caring for life. This is great. So it's also a special pleasure for me to do this in tandem with Angelo Riccaboni, who has actually worked with us for quite some time and is ensuring, let's say, the national translation of what we try to ambitiously do at a European level. So I hope that somebody from the team will put up my slides. It is important for me to show a little bit what we try to do with the EU mission, Caring for Soil, Caring for Life. It is really one of the biggest research and innovation initiatives that we are trying to undertake at European level. And it's anchored in research and innovation, but we go much beyond. So it really goes also into the different policy areas. And this is indeed key for us. So I don't know if it's possible to put on the slides.
Is it possible?
Sì, può anche mandarle lei condividendo il suo schermo, già butta la richiesta. Okay, provo io.
Just a moment, Mrs. Rosnau.
Okay, thanks, no problem. Otherwise, I talk without, that's also fine. But I think it's more visible with the slides.
Or you can do yourself?
Well, that's always difficult. That's why I've asked it because I have multiple screens. So that's why it was normally agreed that you would put it on, but okay. Okay, that looks promising. Already. Okay. So if we can go to the second slide, please. I think what is important, first of all, and I'm going to show the European part of this puzzle, and Angelo is going to talk a bit more about the national part I gathered. When we came together actually 2 years ago, think about the most important novelty under Horizon Europe under the Pillar 2 global challenges, it was work with a mission approach. And we were asked at the Commission to reflect what we think is the great global challenges of our time that should be addressed by research and innovation and policies in a manner that we've never done before, really involving everybody who can contribute something to this agenda and involving also citizens from the start. So what we had proposed was soils. And that, I think, was a key thing. And we were very pleased when in the political discussions at the time, it was really recognized that the state that the EU soils are in, and not only EU soils, also global soils, is such that it is one of the global challenges of our times to put people's feet back on healthy soils. And that we should indeed, soil is always taken for granted, but that we should take soil out of this area into the limelight and make sure that one of the biggest new instruments under Horizon Europe will tackle soil health in a comprehensive manner. And that is really something which was great. It's one of the 5 areas that was chosen. And the fact is also that sufficient European resources, up to 1 billion, maybe 2 billion euro, will in the next period be devoted to that. So it's here under the Global Pillar 2 that this will be funded under Horizon Europe. The next slide, please. So working from there is important to see. So what really is a mission? So the most important mission that we know, or the most famous one, let's put it like that, I'm not sure if it's the most important one, is sending a man to the moon. So it's something which gives a clear direction, which is time bound. When do we want to do that? Next slide, please. And this is really what the mission approach is about. And then it is really, you know, relating to EU citizens to explain why we do all of that with a strong visibility and input. So it's really a portfolio of actions across disciplines that are intended to have a bold and inspirational and measurable goal within a set time frame. And we have to make sure that the impact for society and policy making, as well as the relevance for a significant part of the European population and a wide range of European citizens is really clearly shown. So then there were 5 areas that were chosen. Next slide, please. So among which soil health and food is one. So we have adaptation to climate change, cancer, healthy oceans, climate neutral and smart cities, and last not least, the area that we work, soil health and food. So the next one, then we decided that we're at the Commission maybe not best placed to have the latest cutting edge view on what needs to be happening in the area. So we need really a number of scientists, we need a number of farmers, we need a number of communicators, we need a number of businesses to work together with us in an advisory board. The next slide, please, where it will help us and advise the Commission of what we should actually do. So do a state of play assessment, and this way of already working together in that manner also meant that we have a comprehensive approach, not only research driven, but also in relation to all the other areas that we work with. And so we have we had a chair, so who actually combines all the different disciplines. He's a farmer, so he has 2 farms himself. He's a researcher, he's been a Wageningen professor, and he has been Minister of Agriculture, so he's a politician as well. So it was great to work with him for a number of years. And of course, we also have a Novemont member, so Katja Bastioli, who has been very active and also making sure that the notions of bioeconomy, circular economy, food waste, and so on are integrated in what we do from the start. So the mission board has advised us, in fact, for almost 2 years, and came up with a proposal for the European Commission to come up with a mission: caring for soil is caring for life. So what Roberto has already mentioned. So now we're working in the Commission on an implementation plan to make sure that we convince our College of Commissioners that it's worth to spend 1 to 2 billion euros alone under Horizon Europe, not mentioning what we will spend under the CAP and other areas, so that we can have the final decision and start with the implementation of this mission. Next slide, please. This is a bit our journey. So when we talk about a mission, I've confidently told you it's a goal that we have within a given time frame. So what the mission board has proposed to us should be our mission is ensure that 75% of soils in the EU are healthy by 2030 for food, people, nature, and climate. So there we go. We have a clear target. We have 2030 in there as the timeline. So that's soon. That's 9 growing seasons away from now. Every farmer would recognize what that means. So it's kind of tomorrow. So with regards to soil, and also knowing that soils are at least to 60–70% in an unhealthy state. And what is important that under this, we will also allow for a differentiated approach according to member state situation. So this will really include measuring improvements relevant to member states' baseline assessment of soil health to be undertaken as part of the mission. So these improvements will move soils towards meeting accepted thresholds for soil indicators, which are defined by soil type to support ecosystem services. So this is important. One of the great achievements of the mission is also, I think, that we've managed to agree on 8 indicators on how we intend to measure soil health in the future. The next slide, please. So going further from that, by the way, this target, everybody who works with soils knows that this target is very ambitious. It's something, the realisticness we have to see. So we have discussed this back and forth with the member states and with the relative scientific community, but we made a very thorough scientific baseline assessment with the GRC together, and also seeing what are the major threats. And if we really manage to act on those threats, we believe that our targets is not only aspirational, but that we can also make headways from that. And that links in very well, of course, with the discussion on the Green Deal and with the targets that we have, for instance, under Farm to Fork concerning pesticides and so on. Because if we want to move forward with this, this will also majorly depend on the action that we have on soil overall. So from the objectives in the mission report, we came to an implementation plan with 8 targets with concrete percentages to measure them as well, and indicators that will measure them. So the first one is reduce land degradation. The second, conserve soil organic carbon stocks. The third, stop soil sealing and increase the reuse of urban soils. 4, reduce soil pollution and enhance restoration. 5, prevent and stop erosion. 6, to improve soil structure. 7, to reduce the global footprint on EU's food and timber imports, on land degradation. And 8, last but not least, to improve soil literacy in all member states. And this is to be achieved via actions across all types of land use and sectors, so not only agricultural ones, and value chains as driver of soil health. So the mission board proposes aspirational targets, which we will take over, and a set of 8 indicators for soil health, and this is a novelty in itself. So next. And we are working together also with the EU Soil Observatory, which was just set up by GRC to make sure that we can actually implement this. So how do we want to meet the mission goal now and the objectives? This is the most important question. So first of all, okay, we need an ambitious R&I program. So this is clear. We have a lot that we have been doing on soil and soil health in the last years, but there are still parts outstanding, and especially with regards to a systemic approach and social science and economic science included into this, which also looks into the behavioral sides of land managers, for instance, and why, apart from the fact that we have tons and tons of soil science ready, we have not made major improvements on the ground. So that's one important aspect for the new R&I program. The second is that we want to set up 100 living labs and lighthouses all over Europe, and they are normally at regional level, so they can have several sites among them. So with that, we intend to have a network of living labs with 1,000, 2,000 all over Europe in the key areas, which work bottom up on the issues that they identify most important. So really on field, on site, on forest, in urban areas. And it's really an approach of co-implementation. And we have worked now for a year to make sure the concept of living labs that we want to use together with the European network of living labs, together with the Canadians, which are quite advanced, to make sure that we come up with an operational concept that can be implemented very quickly. And Angelo and his crew is also helping us to identify what is already there on the ground, for instance, in Italy, where we can build on. And it's really a co-implementation of the mission by researchers, land managers, businesses, policymakers, and citizens. The third is the soil monitoring and indicators, like I've told you. So we need to be sure we have targets, we have set them clearly, we know how to measure them, and we have the indicators ready. And the fourth element is the soil literacy, communication, and citizens engagement, where really we can make lots of things better if we go and have soil ambassadors, if we have syllabi in universities, in schools, and so on. So it's really integrating knowledge with real life testing and upscaling, and creating communities for action by addressing clearly the drivers of soil health. So it's a very action-oriented approach that we have. And that's my last slide. I'm not too much going over the time that was allocated to me. What is important is the synergies that we have. So the mission is anchored in RNI, and that's the main area it springs from, but it's only a mission if it acts into the different policy areas. So the mission is an integral part of several EU policies and strategies. So we have the Farm to Fork strategy, the biodiversity strategy, the climate adaptation strategy, the Zero Pollution Action Plan, the Organic Action Plan. You have Elena today with you who will tell you something about that. And research and the mission are integrated into there. And then, of course, the new soil thematic strategy, which is the policy framework, which will set a longer term frame at EU level up to 2050. And we, as the soil mission, we're the operational arm with a milestone on 2030, where we have to make sure that we fulfill our objectives. Then, of course, I'm from DG Agri, so I couldn't be sitting here if I wouldn't also say a word on how the CAP is supposed to be linked to this. So the mission has already been introduced in the Commission's policy recommendations to the strategic plans of the member states. So it's key for the programming of the future funds. So there will be also important support from the EIP Agri, so the European Innovation Partnership on Agricultural Sustainability. So we have everything in place to make sure that we have as much impact as possible in upscaling the solutions that we find under the common agricultural policies, should this be attractive to the member states. We have recently had a very big resolution, which all of you working in soil science will have read with great interest from the European Parliament, really demanding for more action on soil health, demanding a legislative framework again, so we will see where we go. But the mission is clearly identified there as well, and huge support and major expectations with regards to the mission from the member states, including the Horizon Europe program. So stakeholders, citizens, and mirror organizations at the member states. So that's what I wanted to tell you. So if you can help us in this endeavor, if we can build the links, if you can help us with the implementation, that will be absolutely fantastic, because 2030 is tomorrow. So we're looking forward to future cooperation with all of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mrs. Rosnow. So we have a very ambitious goal for by 2030, 75% of soil, European soil clean. And now we see with Mr. Riccaboni, Angelo Riccaboni, National Delegate to the mission Soil Health and Food, the possible application in Italy. Please, Mr. Riccaboni. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Croce. I think that Kerstin Rosenow presented very well the mission, so we don't need to spend time on it. I would like just to add some remarks about the Italian activities on the mission. We all know that it's very important, that the issue is crucial, so I don't spend time on it. I would like to say that we have already launched the mission in Italy on February 24th. A few weeks ago, we launched the mission with the presence of the Minister of University and Research, Maria Cristina Messa, and 1,500 people attended that webinar. I mean, 1,500 people, it's a lot. And this shows how important is the issue for us. And on that occasion, we highlighted what Kerstin said very well, that the mission is about research innovation, is a research innovation program, It cares about lighthouses and living labs. Third, it's important to improve soil literacy, communication, citizen engagement, and also it is very important for monitoring. These are the 4 pillars of the mission. And we started creating working groups on these issues. And we are seeing a lot of interest from colleagues about these 4 issues. The event of February 24th was organized by the Santa Chiara Lab, which is the innovation center I chair at the University of Siena, and the Resoil Foundation. So we are very pleased of the wide audience that we had. On top of it, which is very important, that there is a lot of attention, and also there are many farmers, many companies which are willing to participate to it. And in that meeting, I would like to highlight it is also to Kerstin. We decided to start with the farmers, not with the researchers, because we do think that farmers and food companies are fundamental to this purpose. So we invited the leaders of all the associations, Italian Association of Farmers, and all of them participated. I mean, I was really impressed by the attention of these economic actors. So this is the right way to do, I believe. What it is about to happen is that on December the 20th, 2020, so at the end of the last year, the Italian government approved the so-called Piano Nazionale della Ricerca, National Research Plan for the years 21-27, and with a budget of 450 million euros over the first 3 years. So 450 million for 21, 22, and 23. So this plan mirrors the Horizon Europe program. And within it, there's also room for the missions. So what I'm saying to our audience and to Kerstin is that as soon as the implementation plan is known by the mission, there will be a decision by the Italian government as to how to distribute this money. 550 million, of course, not only for the mission, but for all the program, but we will find a way to dedicate money to the mission. I'm sure that the ministry is really keen on the mission, so we are very keen to see how to build a national path in implementing the mission. So the key phase will be what will be implemented within the national research plan. Another important level in Italy will be the regional level. We know that in Italy, regions are very important in the area of agriculture. So we are already in touch with some regions, and we hope that once the implementation plan at the European level is ready, once the national Italian plan is ready, we need to involve also the regions. I'm sure that also the foundation and the Association of Farmers will help us to get in touch with the regions. The regions have an important budget, an important role in agriculture. We need to work with them. Beppe Croce is about to tell me to end, so only the last point is the following. Kerstin said that we need to align the mission with other activities and initiatives. And this is the reason why PRIMA, the most important, most ambitious research innovation program in the Mediterranean for agri-food systems, is talking with the mission to define joint goals on this topic. So PRIMA is already dealing with land degradation, deforestation, land use, but we hope that the talks we are having with AGRI, I say we because I'm the chair of the PRIMA Foundation, so what we hope is that also with PRIMA, we will be able to launch joint calls on this issue. That would be a wonderful signal that within the European sphere, we talk and we act together. Because don't forget that SDG number 16, only united we can make it. Only with partnerships we can make it. And working together, we can have a better land, better soil in the future. Better. The floor is yours now.
Thank you, Angelo. Very kind. And you underlined rightly the importance of starting from farms. And now we have Mr. Joseph Ivan, Policy Officer of DG Agri, who will talk about the EU Carbon Farming Initiative. That is a very important strategy for the cleaning of soil.
Yes. Good afternoon. I think I started to share my screen, but I don't know if you see the presentation.
We see.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to talk to, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk about the carbon farming and the contribution it can make to the objectives of the European Green Deal. But first, I would like to give you a quick scene setting on the new EU climate policy, which is being revised and developed as we speak. As you know, the way farmers and foresters will be managing their land will play a crucial role in reaching the EU climate neutrality objectives by 2050, and healthy soils are really essentials in reaching the goals on food security, climate change, biodiversity, and also land degradation. The existing climate and I don't know if did I changed because I don't see my slide. It's the second towards the climate neutrality of EU. That should be the slide number 2. The existing climate and energy policy framework is insufficient and not ambitious enough. The current legislation and policy implementation efforts would lead us to a reduction of emissions of 45% below the 1990 level by 2030. And although this is about the 2030 climate target of 40%, but according to projections,
Excuse me, Mr. Ivan, if
yes.
you want to change the slides, you must press on the screen.
They're on the screen. Okay. Sorry. So so what I have said is that that with the current policy implementation, we would reach 45% of reduction by 2030, which in fact is above the 2030 climate target of today of 40%. But according to projections, it would achieve only 60% emission reductions by 2050, and it is very far away from the climate neutrality objectives that we have put ahead of us. The EU climate law will be the major milestone in implementing the European Green Deal. It's commonly known that it raises the emission targets to at least 55% by 2030 and climate neutrality by 2050. However, it also sets an additional aspirational target of achieving negative emissions beyond 2050. Yes, this slide illustrates the EU pathway to climate neutrality, which is decoupled from the economic growth. Two important messages can be read from this slide. The first one is that climate neutrality doesn't mean that all sectors of the economy can or will reach neutrality by 2050. The majority of the remaining emissions will come from non-CO2 emissions in the agriculture sector and to a lesser extent to transport and industry. The second message is that climate neutrality means that all remaining net emissions should be balanced out with net removals coming from the land use and forestry sectors, and to a lesser extent from the carbon removal technologies. This figure shows emissions and removals of CO2 from the land use change and the forestry sectors in 2018, and various projected values under different policy scenarios. Here, I would like to highlight two elements. The first element is that with no policy changes, it is expected that net removals will decrease to 225 million tons from 2018 until 2030. This later is shown in this with this no debit scenario. However, through appropriate policies and actions taken at the EU, national and local level, it is possible to bring the LULUCF sink to up to 340 million tons by 2030, which is shown by the LULUCF plus graph. And then by 2050, the entire LULUCF sector could balance out around 425 million tons of residual emissions from other sectors. The second element is that the size of the net emissions from the agricultural land, which is shown with the yellow color in these columns, in these figures. According to the projections and policy implementations, by 2050, agricultural land will no longer be a net LULUCF emitter. It is expected also that non-CO2 emissions in agriculture could equal net carbon removals from the LULUCF in 2035. To sum up the key messages on emissions and removals, what we can say is that we need a growing carbon sink, but there's a risk that with unchanged land use practices and diverse effect of natural hazards could potentially further reduce this carbon sink by 2030. There are a number of practices that can help to reverse this trend, such as sustainable soil management, which increases soil organic carbon in mineral soils, the rewetting of peatlands, restoration of wetlands, agroforestry, sustainable forest management, reforestation, or afforestation. However, we should bear in mind that we have to carefully plan our policies and actions due to the longer lead times to increase carbon sequestration in soils and also in the forestry sector. As regards the residual emissions from non-CO2 emissions in agriculture, what we can say is that while these emissions can never be fully eliminated under existing technology and management options, but they can be significantly reduced while still ensuring food security. Reducing these emissions would also reduce pressure on the need for removals. And consequently, there's a growing interest in carbon farming and voluntary carbon markets. They can provide a new business opportunity for farmers and also for foresters. At the same time, we also have to think about the other objectives that need to be ensured, like food security, biomass supply to the growing bioeconomy, social fairness, coherence with environmental objectives like biodiversity and other ecosystem services. From these slides, what we can conclude is that the carbon neutrality objective will heavily rely on carbon removals in soils and also in biomass. To achieve this, we need to set ambitious and credible reduction pathway for the LULUCF sector and also for the agriculture sector as such. And currently, the Commission is preparing a legislative proposal under the Fit for 55 package, which is due by July this year. And secondly, we also need to offer a better business model which directly incentivizes farmers and also foresters to store more carbon on their land and in their forest, and also to reduce emissions. This is the purpose of the carbon farming scheme and model. The Commission will publish a communication by the end of this year on the carbon farming initiative, where the aim will be to explore mechanisms that reward climate-friendly practices through financial incentives. The quantification of the mitigation action also requires trusted and widely agreed methodologies on which certification schemes, carbon market credit markets, and also labels can rely on. At this moment, the Commission has started developing a regulatory framework for the certification of the carbon removals. It will be based on a robust and transparent carbon accounting to monitor and verify the authenticity of the carbon removals. And this legislative proposal is expected around 2023. So what is carbon farming? Carbon farming is the process of changing agricultural practices and land use to increase the amount of carbon stored in soil and biomass, and also to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from livestock and crop production, and also from the soil. The financial incentives to farmers can be given through various means, through action-based payments, where the payment is linked to carrying out a specific farming practices like enlarged crop rotation, cover catch crops, reduced or no tillage practices. It can also be based on result-based payments, where the payment is linked to a specific outcome, like tons of CO2 equivalent sequestered in soil. But in this case, flexibility will be given to farmers how to achieve this objective. Or it can be also the mixture of these two types of payments. There are many potential sources of funding sources to set up and operate such a scheme. Potentially, in the long run, it can be funded by voluntary carbon markets through selling of carbon credits and certificates. Or it can be through supply and value chain financing, like the food processing and retailing sector, which can seek to reduce the climate footprint of their value chain. And another possibility is the public funding or financing. Yes, by member states authorities and through the CAP and the EU LIFE programs. And it can be a combination of the two. And there are many prerequisites to establish a carbon farming scheme. You need a governance structure to manage the system, to design and manage. You need to ensure permanence, that the carbon which is sequestered will remain in the soil. You need to ensure additionality, that the result would not be achieved without the scheme. You have to take care of to avoid carbon leakage, and of course the uncertainty due to any accuracies of the measurement of the results, and of course monitoring and reporting and verification system. There are various carbon farming approaches. The most important ones, the ones enhancing soil organic carbon in depleting arable soils, protection of carbon-rich soils in wetlands and peatlands, emission reductions in farm level, like mainly non-CO2 emissions, supplying biomass for long-lasting bio-based products, and of course the planting of new forests, restoring degraded forest, and managing of existing forestry. But we also have to keep in mind the co-benefit and so the carbon farming scheme should also provide and take care of that. Like it can give alternative source of income, reduce production cost, improve animal welfare, enhances biodiversity, including in soil, increases farm resilience. And concerning the CAP, I think the new CAP will be specifically adopted for these carbon farming schemes because of this flexibility, result-based delivery model, its higher climate ambition, and also with the new support measures and the schemes that it can provide. In the country recommendations to the CAP strategic plans, the Commission has recommended the developing of these carbon farming schemes to the member states. And my last slide is this to give some additional information. The Commission has created a web page on carbon farming, and recently, a couple of weeks ago, it published a technical guidance book or guidance handbook on carbon farming, which can help all actors, governments, civil society, farmers associations, and also the industry representatives to help them to set up and implement such a result-based carbon schemes in the agriculture. And this guidance book reviewed 5 promising areas where carbon farming scheme can be developed.
We have no time now, excuse me, Mr. Ivan.
Yes, thank you very much for your attention, and I gave you a couple of resources in this slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ivan. Obviously, organic agriculture has a major role in this carbon farming strategy. So we have now Elena Panicchi, head of unit organic farming of DG Agri. And her subject will be the EU action plan for organic farming. Please, Mrs. Panicchi. Did you receive the sharing of the screen sharing?
I can share. Can you see it now? Can you see my screen?
No.
Uh-huh.
Not now.
Maybe you can share it from.
We start from the organization, the organizer.
Exactly, that would be better. If you can, that would be very helpful. Because I'm a bit, I would say, IT literate, and all these platforms are confusing me very much. So, good afternoon to everybody. My name is Elena Panicchi, and I'm the deputy. I was the deputy. Now I'm the head of unit of organics since a few months. Indeed, I still have to change my introduction. So, I'm going to talk about the Organic Action Plan for the development of organic production. This is an action plan that has been adopted. It's not really this one. It has been adopted. It was adopted on the 25th of March this year, and it's an action plan that aims at really streamlining and fostering the development of the action plan of organic sector to accompany the growth of the sector itself to get to the 25% target.
There is no presentation in our screen.
My fault, or?
Did you send your presentation?
Yes, I did, and I think I saw it in the list of the presentations you had. But I sent it. It's the one called Organic Raised Soil.
No,
and so it's start
we don't find in the list your presentation.
Then okay, but then I will do it without the presentation. It's fine. I mean, I can do it. So, so why organics? So, as you know, the von der Leyen Commission has brought sustainability, and in particular, agriculture sustainability, and in a specific case, organics, under a new spotlight. The Green Deal already points at the organic farming as one of the tools to improve sustainability and get to achieve the carbon neutrality. This concept is further explained and developed in the two strategies, the Farm to Fork strategy and the biodiversity strategy, where we set, there is a target, the Commission sets a target of 25% of the EU agricultural land under organic farming by 2030, and a significant increase of organic aquaculture. Why organic? It's very important to bear in mind that organic farming has a positive environmental, climate, biodiversity, and animal welfare effect. It's very well known that organic has not only effect on biodiversity, but it has also a huge effect on climate and on environment, and in particular, seeing the topic of of this conference about a huge effect on the soil health. And moreover, organics has a multiplier effect, as it helps in increasing and has a positive immediate impact on other farm-to-fork and biodiversity targets, like reduction of fertilizers, pesticides, and antimicrobials. 25%, it's indeed an ambitious target. It goes up to 10% higher than what it would be a normal development as a business as usual development of the sector. Because if you were to project the current trends in increase of the surfaces from now, starting from with 8.5% of the total utilized agricultural areas currently occupied by organic, in the next 10 years, we see that we would reach a range between 15 and 18 percent of the utilized agricultural area as organic. Then we need to make an extra effort and get to the 25%. That means at least 10% more. But the big challenges are that we start from very different starting point in member states. We know that 25% it's a European target, but we have countries which are already above this 25%, like for instance Austria, but also countries which have a huge surfaces but lag behind in terms of organic management, with a 3–4% of their land occupied by organics. Where do we start from as well? Legal stability, as from next year we will have the new organic regulation entering into application. That was a very long process. Now we are ready to start with the application of this regulation, and it's very important for those farmers who will need to make investments and who will choose to convert to organic farming, and we will have substantial financial incentives. You know that you are aware of the current discussions concerning the CAP. We will have a lot of there are already a lot of money which have been allocated to organics in the frame of agricultural policy for promotion, and also as I will have the opportunity to say later on, Horizon Europe will also reserve a substantial chunk of its financial allocations to organic. There is also a huge public trust on organics, and there is a public recognition of the organic logo. We carry out surveys every 2 years on the recognition of the logo, and it's indeed increasing dramatically year after year. And okay, we built this action plan on all the replies that we have received from the stakeholders and the citizens through the public consultation that we carried out last autumn. As I said, the challenges are the different starting points of member states, and there is always present a risk of fraud, but we are working also to mitigate this risk. The approach to the action plan, it's comprehensive. We really tackle all the steps of the supply chain, and we really cover the complete value chain, from the farmers to the restaurants. Consumption, production, and sustainability are really the baseline, the structure on which we have constructed this action plan. And as you will see, it's demand driven. So it's the again, another one, please, next one.
Another one.
The next one.
Next one.
Next one, please.
Needs a bit of time.
Okay, that's perfect. So it's, I said, now the previous one. So it covers all the complete value chain. It's demand driven because, as we said, we wanted really to avoid that there's such an immediate and sudden increase on surfaces would plummet prices of organics. So we want first that we need first to stimulate consumption, because we consider that without an increase of consumption, there won't be the driver to convince farmers to convert to organics. And so that is why we always said the structure should be really demand driven. We will be involving a wide range of stakeholders. It's not only a Commission action plan, but we will also need the intervention, and member states will have to engage seriously on such a plan. And we'll also need the support of the private sector, who will also need to embrace the change towards a sustainable food system. As I said, we have assigned a primary importance to research and innovation, because 30% of the budget for R&I on agriculture, forestry, and rural areas will be dedicated for topics specific or relevant to the organic sector. And there will be a lot of programs also mobilized. So as I said, the Horizon Europe agricultural promotion policy, and also tools. So tools that already exist but are underutilized. The next one. The Organic Action Plan is structured on 3 axes and 23 actions. Then if we go in depth, there are maybe even more than 23 actions. And it's focused on planning and implementation in accordance with national circumstances. So we cannot really avoid to involve fully member states into this change. So already organics is a part of the CAP National Strategic Plan. We are issued together with organics is a part of the recommendations that the Commission has issued to the member states with the message tailored on the current situation. So where the message is whether to continue on this path, like for instance for Italy, which has already more than 15% of organic land dedicated to organic, or to really to improve the situation when we were seeing that the land dedicated to organic was lagging behind. And the organic, we are, of course, member states will also need to issue organic national action plans. Almost all of them have it, so they will have to make an extra effort to improve in some cases, or to really renew their commitment to support organic sector. And we will have a set of measures to focus on the delivery, to really to monitor the progress and to inform stakeholders on where we are with the development. Now, the next one.
1 minute, Mrs. Panicchi.
Don't worry, I'm done. I just have one more slide, which is really going into the details of this action plan. So as I said, there is 3 axes. The first, maybe you can move to the next one. The first action, as I said, is tailored to, is focusing on improve consumption. So stimulating demand and ensuring consumer trust. There will be, there are a set of measures which will be targeting information measures to and promotion campaigns of organic farming. We will stimulate a greater uptake of organics in public canteens. We think that public canteens are really a very good tool to really to trigger the consumption, not only in a specific moment of the meal that you're having, but also triggering a change in your daily grocery. For this reason, we want also to stimulate green public procurement, make a better use, stimulate public authorities really to use it, and involve wholesaler, catering services, restaurants, other business industries. That is conversion reinforced entire value chain. We will work together with the member states to ensure the full use of the relevant CAP instruments, so the eco schemes, the rural development, and the environmental management commitments. Advisory services, we will really need to work together with all the advisory services to promote organics and to train farmers to this change. And also we will have to enhance the knowledge of the sector by organizing, creating observatories, working together on the improvement of the position of organic in the food chain and so on. And to conclude, improving the contribution for organic farming to sustainability. Organic farming can really be a model for the rest of agriculture to move towards a sustainable food system. Not all of the farmers, of course, will convert, but still they can see that in organics they can find an alternative, or an alternative that organics can really be a model to follow. And in this frame, we will really work on improving the availability of tools that are necessary for a farmer to compete on the global market in terms of varieties that are suitable for organic farming, in terms of inputs that can substitute controversial inputs, and so on. But also work on the upgrade the sustainability of organic farming by enhancing the better use of resources, water, soil, and renewable resources, and also to improve the use of plastics. That is all from my side, and I think I managed to keep it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Panicchi. I remember that 10 days ago was approved a new draft law in Italian Senate on organic farming, and we go on about organic farming with the next communication from Eduardo Cuoco, Director of IFOAM, the International Organic Farming Association, who will talk about prospects and development of organic agriculture in Europe. Please, Mr. Cuoco.
Buongiorno, Beppe. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for having me in this conference and giving me the challenge to talk about organic after the comprehensive presentation of Elena Panichi. But let me first of all introduce who I am. I'm Eduardo Cuoco, the director of IFAM Organics Europe. IFAM is the federation representing the organic supply chain. So the farmers, the processors, the retailers, and also those who are giving services to the supply chain, like certification body, academia, and advisory services. We are active since 50 years ago. So we've been active before there was an organic regulation. Actually, 20 years before the first organic regulation, we were the one developing the standards and codifying what organic farming is around the world. And the real very first EU organic regulation, the 2019 of 1992, the first recital, it's really mentioning the principle and the standard of IFAM as a worldwide benchmark for organic farming in all around the world. I'm very glad that, as Elena said, organic farming is the model to follow now in Europe. And I would say it's not only the model to follow, it's also the political tools that can really help European policymakers to turn our system towards a more sustainable one. As I said, 30 years ago, there was the first regulation. Since then, we managed to create an organic market. We also managed to open the way to receive government support from policy, for example, the Common Agricultural Policy. Now, after 30 years, organic is quite a consolidated agri-food sector. We have reached in 2019 about 15 million hectares under organic farming, 41 billion euros of retail sales. And I think the data that is very interesting is that in the last years, from 2008 to 2018, the organic market growth for more than 150%. So in a moment of crisis, European consumers went to buy more organic. And we don't have yet the data, the final data, let's say, for this first half of 2021. But we see that also during the pandemic of COVID-19, European consumers wanted to have more organic on their dishes. So there is a further increase of consumption. But let me take all organic from a different perspective of the one that normally we do. Let's take it from the perspective of what an organic farmer is. I mean, what is the job of Roberto Moncalvo, all the other 500,000 organic operators in Europe? First of all, those are innovative producers who decided to produce high quality food with respect of ecosystem and following, let's say, an organic regulation, but also following some clear principles that distinguish organic farming from other farming systems. The first principle is to take care. So the care principle, in which we say that organic farming should be managed with a precautionary and a responsible manner to protect the health and the well-being, not only of the current generation, but also the future one. So that's one of the reasons why organic farmers have banned the use of the old GMO and the new GMO as well. So this is something that the organic farming are guaranteeing. We also guarantee that organic farmers work in the respect of individuals, ecosystem, but also of soil. We believe that healthy soil can really produce healthy crops that can foster the health of animal and people. So this is really perfectly in line with the farm to fork, because when we do organic farming, we reduce the use of chemical pesticide, we reduce the use of preventive antibiotics, we use less fertilizers. As organic farmers, we are also pay attention to the principle of fairness, being fair among the supply chain and among the different actors involved, also among the people that works in organic farms. We as Federation have developed our own private standard on the social aspect, but we are also very happy that now this social discussion, the social dimension is becoming part of the talk on the Common Agricultural Policy. We strongly support that this talks goes to a positive end and the social aspect will be included in the CAP. And last but not least, organic farmers works basing their work on ecology. So we treat organic farming as a base on that is based on living ecosystem, and we respect the local condition. We adapt the management of our farm to the local condition. And I think there is another aspect that might be interesting, and to understand what organic organic farmers are today in Europe. If I see what we have in Italy, we have 22% of the organic farmers who are less than 40 years old. They have a high degree of scholarization. They are connected to internet. They are interested in new business model and trying to try them out. They are also interested very much into multifunctionality. And I wanted to mention that because having 22% of farmers under 40 years old in organic is a very important element. I mean, if you look at industrialized conventional agriculture, this is only 9%. So we see that young generation are betting on organic. So organic is really the agriculture of tomorrow. The organic is that model that can start a transformation to really, a deep transformation to really make our agri-food system more sustainable and giving more benefit to the society, to the producers, but also to the environment and to the consumers. Said so, Ellen has mentioned the action plan, 23 actions to support the further growth of organic farming. And this is indeed a very good policy that the Commission has put on the table. We trust that the Commission will do its best to implement the organic action plan. But we also are aware that out of 23 actions written in the action plan, at least 17 have a strong commitment, require a strong commitment from member states. So this represents an opportunity, but also represents a challenge, because we need to make sure that the lock-in that the sector is facing to reach 25% will be solved by action of the Commission together with the member states. So I understand I have only a couple of minutes left. I will not go into details, but I think we have to take care about three aspects. Generally speaking, economic lock-in. We know that when you convert to organic, in the first year, you have lower yields. We also know that if you convert properly, after a few years, you have higher yields, sometimes even higher than industrialized agriculture. But to do so, to convert properly, we need good advisory services. We need agricultural knowledge innovation systems which are prepared to help the farmers to convert. This can only happen if member states invest into that. They use the CAP money or they use the other money they are available to really structure independent advisory services who can help farmers to convert. We also have to take into account that our farmers are not only producing high quality food, but they deliver ecosystem services to society. I mean, what organic farmers do is also to take care of the environment around him. So we believe that would be crucial that in the discussion on the CAP, there will be special attention to organic farming in the eco schemes and making sure that this eco scheme can reward farmers who are delivering public goods. And then another aspect that is often neglected is the ecological aspect. We live in a polluted world. Our operators are struggling to fight after of drift from a pesticide product and so on. Think that in Italy, every year 70 kilos of pesticide and fertilizers combined are used for each inhabitant. It's a huge amount of chemical products that are polluting, for example, our water. 63.9 of surface water, 31.7 of underground water in Italy are polluted by more than 200 chemicals pollutants coming from pesticide. So this makes very difficult sometimes to be organic because you have to fight also with the pollution around you. So I hope that with the Farm to Fork we will really reduce the use of pesticide. This will get us to have healthier food, but also to have healthier soil and a healthier working condition for our farmers and our workers. So
thank you very much.
Just to close, very sorry, just one last sentence. I think it's very important that we all work together. And I mean, Roberto is an organic farmer which has been representing the biggest farmer organization, including non-organic farmers around the world. And what I would like to say is that we, the organic sector, is ready to support those farmers who are willing to become organic farmers. So we are ready to support the non-yet organic farmers to become more organic, to share our knowledge. we are also ready to support the Commission in all the different policy they are developing. We have developed a very good European-wide network of living labs working in organic. We are willing to give it out, to share with you, to make sure that we can all work together. If we all work together, also with our governments at all levels, European to the local one, to the small municipality, then we will succeed and we will have a successful implementation of the Green Deal, and we will reach together the objective of the Farm to Fork. Thank you, Beppe, and sorry for the 1 minute delay.
Thank you, Eduardo. And now the last communication of the first part of this conference from Martin Hoesig, a member of the European Parliament in a working group Circular Bioeconomy Best Practices. I don't know if I say right. And he will talk about towards a European directive on soil protection.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the interesting contributions in the workshop. I'm going to take it from a slightly bigger picture than just the agriculture, or try to hone back on the agriculture, because what we have as a situation, it's not rosy. If one looks at, for example, the state of the environment from the European Environmental Agency, the report on the chapter on the soils, it's clear that despite all the optimistic talk of improvements, we are still fighting an uphill battle. We still have problems that we're not addressing sufficiently. That we are in the middle of crisis, that it's impacting the soils heavily, that we ultimately managed to only reduce the habitat loss. We haven't halted it, we haven't reversed it, despite the voluntary pledges, despite the big statements. And that's where for me one of the important elements is we cannot achieve the change without a legal framework for soils, because that's the piece of puzzle that it's missing in Europe. We have a legal framework for air, we have a legal framework for the water, but we don't have one for soils. And indeed, this is an area where we face a number of problems from the multiple perspective. One side is the different contaminated areas that need to be addressed, and this contamination doesn't impact only people. This contamination impacts also agriculture, because classic example from my home country Slovakia, we have a large area in eastern Slovakia contaminated by the toxic and long-band PCBs. The contamination is there since 70s and 80s, and it's still there, and no one is dealing with it. We have an ongoing problem with the overuse of pesticides, and while I'm very happy to see the growth, and hopefully we'll see even more growth of the use of the organic agriculture, we need to get rid of all hazardous pesticides, and not just in the organic agriculture. And it's possible to, as the horticulture has showed us over the last 15 years. We just need to make it very clear policy priority with the binding targets. We see the challenge of desertification, of soil sealing. We have challenges of loss of water in the soils, and massive loss of not just carbon, but overall the biodiversity, because soil is a living organism. It's a living ecosystem which we are sadly gradually killing. Now, what we need to achieve here is not just slowing down or halting, but actually the reverse. And as some of my predecessors said, one of the clear examples is the carbon. At the moment, soil is a source of carbon emissions, while in a healthy state, it's actually a carbon sink, a natural carbon sink. It's about how and one of the big reasons is the way we practice agriculture right now. So coming from these elements, as a European Parliament, we decided we need to call again for the legal framework for soils to address all these different problems under one legislative chapeau, which will make sure that the policies end up being coherent. That we have in Europe a situation where actually the left hand knows what the right hand does, sadly is often not happening. And I'm really hoping that with the resolution that the Parliament passed, with the mention of this call in the biodiversity initiative report that's now coming to the Parliament and should be next week voted on in plenary, the Commission will listen. We had this promise from President von der Leyen. She said when the Parliament is asking for legislation, we will propose it. So I'm really expecting and hoping that this is something which will be honored, and we will see soon after the soil thematic strategy, obviously, a commitment to a legislative proposal from the side of the Commission. I think this is something which will ultimately benefit farmers, because it will create a clear set of rules across different legislations and will give us the tools in one place to address the different threats that we are facing from the soil. So that's it from my point of view, and I hope that soon we will be able to see the legislative proposals. Thank you.
The microphone is...
Yes, we can.
Excuse me, I must remember that with Legambiente, many European associations, we tried to obtain since many years a legislation about soil protection. So we hope now it's the right time. Well, the first...
If I may add, please keep on pushing, because this proposal was already on the table twice, and it was the member state minority, blocking minority of the member states that stopped it. And I strongly believe that Commission, but as well as the governments across Europe, need to keep on hearing from a stakeholder like you that this is something which is highly desired, and that there is a strong demand for a framework legislation on soils.
Well, yes, I think you know, People for Soil initiative was an initiative, and I think we'll go on to press with the European Commission, to push with the European Commission. Now I leave the floor to Mr. David Newman for the second part of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you go, Mr. Hodgson, I would just like to say congratulations for the work that you did there.
Excuse me, Mr. Newman. We hear very badly.
Yes, I have an issue with folks who, can you hear me better now? No, I have a very bad, GoTo webinar works very badly for me. Can you hear, Hudson? No. Okay.
I hardly understand.
No, I have issues with the audio on this. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. Do you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, no, I'd just like to say thank you to Mr. Hosik, because you have done some really good work in the European Parliament on the soil directive, and I really want to applaud the work that you did there, and hope that we can collaborate together in other issues regarding soil health going forward. So thank you. Now it's my job to interview, to introduce the speakers for this afternoon. And the first speaker is Miguel Serra, who's from the Balearic Islands in Spain, from the association at PIMA. And when you are ready, Michael, the floor is yours. Are you with us? Maybe the organizers can bring Michael to the screen, please. And while we're waiting for Michael, let me just introduce myself. I am leading the European platform on circular bioeconomy. And we have supporters which mainly come from the scientific community. And we are working especially upon the quality of soil and the regeneration of soil. Our activities, therefore, are very, very closely linked to all the discussion which is going on here today. I see Francesco Pascal, and I am waiting for Michael. Are you there, Michael? Because if you're not there, Michael, then Francesco, if you are ready, I would say to you,
it would be
with your presentation, and we'll come back to Michael later, okay? Is that okay?
It's okay, it's okay. Can you hear me?
Then over to you, thank you.
If the staff could give me the chance to show my presentation.
Francesco Pascal from the Terra Felix Association.
So first of all, thank you everyone to this very interesting meeting. Okay. I hope that you can see my presentation.
Not
so
yet. See yet.
Terra Felix.
Yes, you have now. Yep.
Okay.
Please,
I love to start my presentation with a description of my land, of the place where I live, that is in the south of Italy, especially in province of Caserta. And I like to show to my land with the words of an ancient traveler that was Goethe, that during his Italian journey, he wrote every day a letter to his father to represent his activities during the day. And he talks about my land in the 25th February of 1787, when he went from Capua to Naples, and he describes to his father this place, this plain of Capua, very rich of farm activities, where the soil was excellent in his description, was light, was loose, and well worked. And he worked, and I can image that he came from this area, where is the red point, that is the place where I live. So I can imagine 300 years ago this tourist that came in my place. In this very nice picture, we can see this place that Goethe will came through with the Vesuvium that give a good with the Vesuvium and this farm that give a good landscape. But something is went very wrong, especially in the last 30 years, where when with the aggression from organized crime, my land was defined from our environmental organization, and also from the different newspaper, Land of Fire. And with this phenomena was created by the illegal dumping and illegal waste management made by the organized crime. this situation was give a very bad reputation to our agricultural product and our land. So no one's want to come, no one's want to buy product of Campania in that period. But with a very after a very important pressure to the our institution, finally some data came from the Minister of Environment in 2014, where the ISPRA, that was the institution on the Agency on Environmental Policy in Italy, declared that only the 2% of our mapped potential polluted soil was suspicious, and the majority of these places weren't cultivated. So we worked very hard to overturn these paradigms, so to come from the land of fire to the terra felix. And we started to project a model to work that was first of all promotion of the protection of our land as a citizens, as activists, as a consumer, as a and then promote its excellence and spread out this model. So we started from the creation of an eco-museum from an historical building that was abandoned from the local community, and we create this rural lab that is a place where people of local community were involved in local farming with social gardening, and all the students of our region came for environmental educational activities. And for this reason, in these years, we promoting this winning model, starting with the local identity and the promotion of our territory. We understand that it was a good opportunity for economical development, social involvement, increasing sustainable and land use awareness, healthy food, and sustainable practices in agriculture. Now our social enterprise work in 4 fields: in regeneration of places, in agri-food with the production of local product and the transformation of this product into restaurants. We provide Green Revolution consultancy, and we make a lot of edutainment activities. I want to share just 2 projects that we are running now. That one is the first biodistrict in Caserta province that we are realizing in this year with the partnership of more than 10 local farmers. So it's a very important challenge that we are working on. And another project was very important on confiscated farm. This project is called From Soil to Soil. The farm was placed in Santa Maria la Fossa near Casal di Principe, where we find a small pollution in the soils, and we make these no food cultivation of cardo mariano that was used for the utilization in a bioeconomical cycle of production, like the bioplastic that we use in a common activities. on like packages and other single use in our common life. Also, we use and we promote the use of biodegradable mulch films for the cultivation in confiscated lands, and also the biodegradable packaging for mozzarella produced in a confiscated farm in Castelvolturno. So thank you for this very fast presentation of our activities, and thank you for the participation to these events.
Thank you, Francesco. Do any of the other panelists have any questions for Francesco? I have one question, Francesco, and that is, what pressures have you had from organized criminal gangs now that you are operating? Have you had any? Have you faced any pressure? Have you faced any risks?
Not now. In the 10 years ago, we had some critical experience with some damage that someone provides to our offices. But now we live in a place where the awareness of people is changing. So and also this period of pandemic give more opportunity to people to know better the best of our places, also online, and also now visiting our offices and our farming. So it's very important to work with the people. It's like a social protection.
Yes, I think you're in a difficult place. So congratulations for the work. Well done. Complimenti.
Thank you.
I know we are all Italians and parlo anche Italiano, but we have to speak in English. But thank you for doing that for the English audience. Can I introduce Claudia Di Bene from CREA? Claudia, are you with us? Buonasera, welcome, Claudia. Claudia is from the Research Centre for Agriculture and Environment, and we're going to look, Claudia, at agricultural practices on marginal drylands. So, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Can somebody from the organization share my presentation, because I have problem with share my screen?
We can.
Okay, thank you. So thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for organizing this very interesting meeting. In this presentation, I'm going to show you some a part of a research activity carried. Can you see the slide? Or
Just a moment.
Can Margarita, can somebody help?
Yeah.
Now you can
slide. Yeah. First slide, please. So yes, in this presentation, I'm going to show you a part of a research carried out by Lorenzo Davino, myself, and Roberta Farina from CREA, in collaboration with Francesco Razza from Novamont. So as already mentioned by previous speaker today, land degradation caused by intensive agricultural practices negatively affects soil health and environmental quality. So to achieve the sustainable development goal of a land degradation neutral world by 2030, it is important to create a positive soil carbon budget to protect the soil from erosion, from flooding and loss of soil organic matter. So the main challenge is to reduce these negative effects are to promote cropping systems redesign, especially in marginal lands, by using also no-food perennial crops useful for bioeconomy and environmental sustainability, and find a trade-off between greenhouse gas emissions and soil organic carbon sequestration. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So in this context, in a marginal area nearby Porto Torres in Sardinia, Italy, we have selected 3 private farms cultivated with fava bean and durum wheat to evaluate the environmental sustainability of the introduction of cardoon in the rotation used as to feed a vegetable oil-based biorefinery by assessing the potential of soil carbon sequestration during over 20-year period by using a modeling approach. So in this context, we hypothesized 2 different scenarios. One scenario, scenario 0, was based on the current cultivation based on fava bean and durum wheat rainfeed rotation, and the alternative scenario is based on the introduction of cardoon in the common rainfeed rotation. So we introduce a 7-year of cardoon followed by fava bean and durum wheat over 20 years. Next slide, please. So regarding the modeling approach, we selected 3 different models. One is the IPCC tool Tier 2 with a 20-year step based on default data. So we used climate region, soil type, and core land cover information. The second one is a SUMBIT model coming from the ECBPI model, family model. So it's based on isohumic and mineralization coefficients. And the third one is the ROTC model based on a monthly step approach with 5 different carbon pools. And SUMBIT and ROTC model was based on field measured data. So next slide, please. So after model calibration and validation, we ran the model over 20 years. And the main findings is that in the scenario 0, soil organic carbon stock is maintained at equilibrium using IPCC tool, or a slight decrease is predicted, followed by ROTC and SUMBIT. But in the alternative scenarios, scenario 1, thanks to the introduction of cardoon in the rotation, we predicted an increase of soil organic carbon stock over 20 years by almost 19 tons per hectare, and we reduced also the days of bare soil. And the total carbon input into the soil was also increased from scenario 0 to the alternative scenarios. So next slide. So concluding, our findings provide valuable insight and new knowledge on soil organic carbon sequestration after the introduction of a perennial no-food crop in a common rainfeed rotation. And these findings also show that cardoon is a promising no-food crop to feed a vegetable oil-based biorefinery. And finally, our modeling approach can be a useful tool for decision makers to assess the efficacy of bioeconomy measures aimed at increasing soil organic carbon sequestration and increase also ecosystem services. Next slide. So thank you for listening, and if you are interested to read more information and details on this paper, you can find the full publication on Agronomy MDPI journal, and I can paste the link on the chat. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudia. I would do the question to Dr. Croce, but Dr. Croce, when you do the questions, could you please ask Claudia if they have done a modelling on what the potential is for Italy? If you did you hear? If you hope you heard me. No. Okay. So now I'm going to introduce. Michael Serra, are you with us now, Michael? Hi. Can you hear me? Good. Welcome, Michael, and please take the floor now and tell us about your work that you are doing with IPIMA towards more sustainable agricultural practices in the Balearic Islands. Welcome.
Ok. Gli ho risposto a Antonella.
Now do you hear me? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Please, is that from? I had been told that my presentation can be in the because with the
you can share your presentation with the organizers.
Okay. Okay, but it is possible that someone shared my presentation.
Yes, we can share.
I sent you 2 days ago.
We can share it. Yeah.
Thank you, because I'm not. I know.
You have to stop sharing. You have to take your. Okay.
Now we send you your presentation.
Thank you.
I think you have to stop screen sharing.
David, I can see.
Now presenters will
okay, now it's ready.
Good.
Now, do you listen? Do you can see? Okay. Okay. Do you see my presentation? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, we are from Mallorca in the Balearic Islands in Spain, and we are an association of organic farmers in Mallorca. We have about 100 associated and farmers, and we develop different projects to impulse the organic agriculture in there. One of these projects was to put it together our farmers to make a buying. You have to forgive my my very poor English, and I'm trying to explain the best I can. Well, we put together our farmers to no book. Okay. To motivate them to use bioplastic for agriculture, like as you can see in the picture. Because in Mallorca we have traditionally a conventional agriculture that use the plastic conventional, and there is no the people is not conscientiated to do a best gestion from these plastics. Then, well, if you want, you can enter in our website apaema.net, Asociación de Productores de Agricultura Ecológica de Mallorca.net, and you can see all with the the project we developed. Well, we made first a very little study economy to compare plastic conventional with versus bioplastic, and we see that the bioplastic, it was more expensive than the conventional, as all you know. And we have in Mallorca, in Baleares, there is a philanthropic organization that would like to help us with contributions and with economical contributions, and we told them that why if they that philanthropic organization that it's called Mallorca Preservation Fund, if they could pay the difference that there was between plastic, normal plastic, and bioplastic for agriculture. And it was the way that our farmers put ensemble in the to begin to use the biofilm, the biofilm. And you can see all the pictures you will see are from that these 3 years ago, these last 3 years that we have been doing this project with people. Well, you can see the first year in 290 and it was 11 organic farmers that would like to enter in this project. This supposed 60 kilometers the biofilm. The next year it was 14 organic farmers, and this year from now almost 20. This is a good for our. It has been a very good initiative in Mallorca, because it has been very publicitated by the media, by the local media, and this had has supposed more people concentrated with the problem of the conventional plastics in the agriculture. And you can see different farmers that use and that they have now using the biofilm in Mallorca and also in Menorca. Almost they use from agriculture for summer crops like tomato, like aubergine, like I don't know the names in English, and all of the organic farmers that has tested the biofilm, all they 100% are very satisfied with it. They haven't seen difference. They haven't seen differences respect the conventional film. For agriculture, for organic agriculture, for the organic agriculture, this biofilm is absolutely competitive. It's absolutely useful, and the most important advantage that has the biofilm is the gestion posterior until the crop ends, and all of them are very satisfied. With the philanthropic organization Mallorca Preservation Fund, we signed a contract for 3 years, but the project has been so grateful that we have ampliated for 2 years more. And you can see, and it was the little fear that the biofilm didn't not degraded 100%, but it wasn't like that. And in half a year, as at most, there is no biodegradable biofilm in any crop, in any field that you can visit. This is all I wanted to explain you. Very sorry for my poor English. I did not expect. I thought that I could have a translation. Sorry.
Thank you, Nico. That's a very interesting experience, and the problem of plastics in soil from soil mulch is one of the most serious problems that we have across European agriculture. So that is a very interesting experience. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Very thank you, all of you.
Thank you. And the last presentation is from Professor Giaquinto from the University di Bologna, and looking at how agricultural systems can recover vacant urban lands, and from the experience of the city of Bologna. So, Professor Andre, to you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now, thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I try to share my it's very terrible, this platform, huh? Okay.
It's the worst platform, yes, it's terrible. Yeah.
Well, incredible. Ok, questo. Schermo principale. Okay, can you see my presentation now? Can you see my screen?
We can see the presentation.
Okay. Okay, I start with my presentation. Okay, that's better. Oh, okay. As you know, as you know, I'm sure that you know, one of the biggest environmental issues in the world is the soil consumption. And in the last 20 years, a dramatic change in land cover has been observed in Europe, with a significant increase of artificial surfaces, such as urban industrial areas, roads, and others, etc., etc. On the other hand, as a city grows, the phenomenon of urban sprawl is generally observed, with peri-urban area characterized by dispersed, scarcely planned, and low-density settings, with several unused or empty lots are usually found and named as vacant lands. In response to the economic and financial crisis starting in 2007 and not yet finished, unfortunately, further voids in the urban fabric have emerged, including abandoned industrial districts, but also public building, for instance, dismissed army barracks, hospital and school. And in many cities, urban agriculture explores potential new uses for this vacant land. And this is the case of Bologna. This is the map of Bologna, with the hills in the south and the plain with agricultural field in the north, and the city in the middle. Many are the industrial areas built during the decades from the 50s to the 70s. One of the last, of the most recent area is the Rovere industrial area, here in the northeast side. And nearby there is a huge railway yard, nowadays almost abandoned, and several agricultural wages entering through the suburbs are present everywhere. In Rovere, that is this most recent area, some areas were not built for several reasons, and they became suddenly vacant and degraded areas. They were property of municipality of Bologna, but they were partially and informally cultivated by some growers. In 2016, one of this area, this one that is in the slide, including the fields, the house, and a marquee, was given in concession, was given in license to the no-profit social cooperative Eta Beta. Since then, and also before, to tell you the truth, together with Eta Beta, we started to think about the way to regenerate this vacant land. And this is a photo, a picture of the area before Eta Beta settled in. And here is in 2016, where Eta Beta started to restore the area, and this is this area. How is now? Okay. Sorry, I have a return in.
My wrist is rigid.
Can you turn off the microphone?
And I will be
What happened? Close the microphone, please. Quiz.
Yes. Okay. So with Eta Beta, we presented a project that was financed by the Italian government in the frame of the program called Peripheries or Suburbs Program. The project involved the construction of a bike path and the pedestrian path that ran through this area, which would consist of vegetable gardens, orchards, fields of aromatic herbs, and a nursery, all together creating an ecological corridor, with the house in the center, where various services and activities were planned, such as the artisanal labs, craft workshop, classrooms, and experimental. There is an experimental kitchen, a restaurant, and a bar. And now I will show you some slides, some picture of the implementation of the project. This is the construction of the infrastructure, then the rehabilitation of several areas, and then the construction of the bike path and the walkway, also in this slide, and then the first vegetable fields. All vegetables are obviously organically grown. The plastic is the bioplastic that mentioned Miguel before. And then the orchard with the plantation of the trees, and the field with the herbs, the aromatic plants, and some areas where reforestation were provided. And all the area are linked with plots in which has been promoted the functional biodiversity to allow the different useful insect and pollinators to stand and to live and to move. Then there is a vivaio, a nursery, vivaio, where different plants from the vegetable for transplanting, the plugs and flowers and trees are grown. This is the view of the vivaio from a drone, I think, something like that. And so there is this green corridor connecting all the different areas where we are carrying out different experiments, different research, aiming at study the soil characteristics, the possible potential contamination of the soil, or the contamination of the products obtained in this soil. Then some other research dealing with the quality of the environment and the quality of the soil. And these are some of the publications we published recently. If you are interested, I can share with you. And just to finish, I will show you some images of the area. The name is Battirame, Spazio Battirame, how it is now vegetables, the marquee behind, and then some cabbages and cauliflower, and there is the Jerusalem artichoke. Over there, this is an autumn view of the part of the vegetable gardens. This is the nursery and the courtyard. The courtyard that is recently used as an open restaurant. All the products used, the vegetables and fruits that are used are coming from the fields, So we have organic food with 0 food miles, some relaxed areas, and this is the view of the restaurant just some evening ago with the COVID-19 I can say regulation. Also, there is the distance, the right distance between the different tables and so on. This is the restaurant inside the house. It is the old stable, restored, very nice, and paintings just to finish. So thank you for your attention.
Okay. New David, you want to say something? You don't listen, you don't hear. So we exceeded our time, but there are 2 questions. One question, very interesting, asks, what are the negatives of organic agriculture? I think the question is for Mrs. Elena Panicchi or Eduardo Cuoco. Who wants to answer? No answer? Mrs. Panicchi? Are you here? No. So I leave Roberto Moncalvo in his conclusion to answer to it. And the other question is from Carlo Iacomini of ISPRA. ISPRA is the National Institute for Protection for Environment Protection and Research and Environment Research, who would like to get in touch with Terra Felix. Dov'è? Francesco? Francesco, are you here? Francesco Pascale? Ah, okay. So ISPRA wants to get in touch with you to collaborate. So I think you can exchange each other your address at the end of the conference. Yeah. Okay. I'd leave the conclusion to Mr. Roberto Moncalvo and Roberto Ferrigno of ECBPI.
Okay, thank you, Beppe Croce. I try to answer to the question about negative aspects of organic farming. As organic farmer, I can say that organic farming is difficult, but it's not impossible. Surely we need more public and private research on innovation in organic farming. But I think that as a farmer, the most difficult aspect is the price of the products for organic farmers, because producing with organic method, it's expensive, it costs so much. So one of the key aspect point is to guarantee the right level of prices for farmers. It's a great topic for all agriculture, also for conventional farming, but it's particularly necessary for organic farming, because when I want to become an organic farmer, I have to spend so much money in organization, but also for the fact that I will lose in the first period a part of my production. So the price of products, and not only the public health with CAP or with rural development programs, is a key aspect. So I hope I have given a good contribution about these questions, and I would like to close my conclusion saying some things about this web conference. I think we have clearly understood that it's a strategic moment to define policies at European, regional, and national and regional level. It's a strategic moment also to define objectives and to organize activities on soil protection and regeneration. And we are strongly convinced that it's time also to obtain a legal framework legislation on soil. We have to work hardly to increase soil fertility at first, investing in also in soil literacy, in living labs and in lighthouses. And we have to engage, first of all, farmers, but also food companies, chemical companies, especially biorefineries, but also renewable energy producers and university. I think that many objectives are to be reached. For example, we have to increase the use of compost from organic waste in agriculture. We have to invest on bio-based materials, such as products with cardoon by Novamont, Coldiretti, and farms like Terra Felix. We have to spread agricultural best practices for a healthy soil to all farmers, not only to organic farmers, but to all farmers. We have also to focus on the role of sustainable livestock farming and biogas production, because they can be a source of for natural fertilizers for increasing soil fertility. We have also to work on regulation on carbon markets, involving directly farmers and foresters. We have to increase green public procurement, not only on food, but also on bio-based materials. And we have to hardly to reduce and, if possible, to stop soil consumption. I think that in conclusion, it's time to act, and it's time to act together. As Resoil Foundation, we are ready to give our contribution and to work together in order to have care of our soil, also organizing and coordinating projects and activities in Italy and in the European Union. But now it's time to act, but it's also time to close our web conference. Roberto Ferrigno, please take the floor. And with your last speech, we are close to the end of our web conference. Thank you for everybody for your attention and your contribution.
Well, thank you, Mr. Moncalvo. Obviously, I totally share what you just said. This is a call for action. It's a time really to join forces and get what we are looking for since a long time. And in our point of view, according to us, the European policy initiative on the circular bioeconomy, the next step is the new European Union soil strategy that the Commission is going to adopt, hopefully, before the end of this year. As Mr. Moncalvo said, there is a strong need to act together, to bring together all interested stakeholders. He also rightly mentioned that there are other pieces of legislation that are coming into force. For instance, the legislation on waste, setting a mandatory requirement for the separate collection of bio-waste. And I would just also emphasize the need to take into account the social dimension of all those measures that we are going to discuss, to debate, and hopefully to implement in the framework of the Green Deal. I think today we get very clear examples about the need to reward, the need to compensate all those actors, farmers, for agroforestry entrepreneurs, and so on and so forth, to really change the framework because of the need to decarbonize. As Vice President Timmermans said, the Green Deal is going to be social, or is not going to be. So absolutely the social dimension, the need to reward the actors for the good practices and the good deeds is absolutely essential. So in this respect, I think that's it for our point of view. Thank you very much for inviting us again to this interest webinar. And we look forward to working together. As I said, the next step is the EU soil strategy. Hopefully, there will be possibilities to finally implement a comprehensive EU legal framework for the protection of soil. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all. I remember at the end that the conference record will be published on the website of Resoil and Chimica Verde Bionet. Thank you to all. Good evening.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao a tutti, buonasera.
Ciao Francesco.
Buonasera a tutti.
A presto.
Ciao, arrivederci.
Ciao, grazie a tutti.